the Republicans' great divorce from woke businesses, or what some people call woke capitalism. Holy cow, Republicans don't like business? Is that possible? Let's ask Charlie Hurt, Washington Times opinion editor, Fox News contributor, and Mercedes Schlapp, I'm sorry, I can't talk today, CPAC Foundation senior fellow, former White House strategic comms director. Mercy, I'll start with you on this. So there's a big story in the Washington Times today about the Republican divorce. It says big business, and then it kind of goes on to woke capitalism. And I was curious, in your experience as a senior Republican advisor, how deep is this? Is the GOP going to turn its back on business, or is it just big business and not small business?
Well, the big business has turned its back on the American people and hence the Republican Party. Think about it. In the last couple decades, there was definitely a very tight relationship between the Republican Party and big business. It was the party of free trade. It was the party of making sure that these corporations could have lower taxes. This is something that we did in the Trump administration, Larry, where we focused in on lowering the corporate tax rate. But what has happened is there's been this transformation happening in these big businesses where they're more focused on the woke agenda, on pushing these ESG standards as opposed to focusing on return on investments and dividends and growth within the company. And instead, they're battling the basic American values of in our country. And so this has become where you've seen, I think, this battle occur between big business and the Republican Party. And I think the Republican Party is going to focus mostly on helping small businesses succeed and basically checking on these monopolies and the power of big companies.
Charlie Hurt, just as a thought on this, okay, this is a story that I like, but I'm not sure about. It would seem to me if these big companies, let's take Disney, okay, DeSantis went right at them. They got involved in social policy in Florida. It was a big mistake. I would think that these woke corporations will lose customers, okay? That if they engage in politics of any kind, but especially maybe, as Mercy said, traditional values, politics, they'll lose customers. I don't know that I want the GOP to penalize big business. I want them to lose customers. What do you think about that? Is that too Pollyannish?
No, but I think you're right about that. The problem has been a lot of these big companies realize that they can use the government to push these crazy woke agendas, whether it's the Green New Deal kind of stuff or some of this other sort of crazier social agenda stuff like with Disney. But they've sort of pushed it in a way that defies their interest, the interest of their customers or their shareholders in a lot of cases. But they justify it because of course, Democrats love it because they want the money to run their campaigns, and they get that money from these big companies. But I think that this sort of divorce between I think, Mercy, you're exactly right. The divorce is between a lot of these corporate leadership boards and things and their customers, and so and of course Republicans who have always been viewed as being far more pro-business are the ones that get that are left to sort of pick up the pieces. And I think it's and a perfect example, of course, is an issue like illegal immigration, where you have a lot of these big companies that don't care about that. They want cheap labor coming into the country. Most Americans want to have borders that are enforced, but the one group of people that don't have a representative in Washington are average Americans who just want the laws enforced. And so I think for Republicans, and Donald Trump was the first one to realize this, for Republicans to sort of pick up on this and try to serve those interests of the American people is a very smart thing.
Just as the last thought, Mercy, look, I agree. I mean, these companies should get out of the woke business altogether. Just get out of the woke business.
Yeah.
But I would suggest better to have the customers revolt. In other words, Trump's tax cuts, we cut taxes, as you mentioned, his great success. He cut
Right.
taxes for large and small businesses. I just don't want the GOP to be against businesses, okay? In other words, we're for the working man and the working woman, right? But you can't have a good job unless you have a healthy business. I just want to make that last point. As a note of caution, I will let you conclude this segment.
Well, you got to make sure that these big businesses respect many of their employees that don't agree with their woke agenda and respect their customers. And I think it's important for those in the Republican Party to highlight what these companies have done, and there needs to be pressure on these companies, because even with the boycott, even with customers leaving, we need to highlight the reality of what we're seeing in these woke corporations, where they are more concerned about climate change than they are about energy independence, or they're more concerned about the left woke agenda. Because guess what? The leftist groups and the Democrats, they're the ones putting the pressure on these woke companies to make these changes and, for example, boycott states on the issue of abortion after the Roe v. Wade overturn. So I think that there really has to be pressure from the right, which I know we do here at CPAC, to make sure that woke corporations are in check and that they don't just cave in to the leftist radical agenda.
All right, I got it. On this subject, my hero is one Elon Musk, because he saw a bad-run company, Twitter, with doing very bad, wokey things. And what did he do? He just went out and bought the company. Now, that's my kind of free market guy.
Unfortunately,
okay?
I don't think he's going to make that money back.
We need more of those.
You know,
yeah.
It was
Charlie
worth...
and I don't have that kind of money, Larry.
Of course you do. It was worth $44 billion just to get the story straight. All right.
It was worth $44 billion of his dollars, not mine.
Of his dollars, yes. Well, you might want to invest with him. He's very successful. Charlie Hurt, Mercy Schlapp, thanks very much.